this file with me. It's as a sample from the previous English tests for the grade 8, and we will start first. When you take your paper, first you have to sign or record your name and the number that is private for you. After that, you have to deal with the first paper, which is written with the general instruction. You have to read this instruction carefully to know how to deal with your questions. After reading this paper, you move to to start with the exam. First, in the exam you have 3 parts: the writing mechanics, reading, and the paragraph. If your paper will start with reading or with writing mechanics, and in this paper we write with the writing strategies and mechanics. You have to read what is written for you carefully before you start your question. In this paper, they have give us an example. For example, the writing test has a total of 8 questions. Look here, they tell you that you have 8 questions. It has 2 parts. Before each part, you will see directions. Read the directions and sample questions carefully to be sure you understand how to answer the question in the part of the test. Look, we read this instruction in general, and they said they first give you a sample, and this is the sample. You have to read the sample to know how to answer your questions. Be careful when you want to choose your answer or the correct answer. You have to put X inside the square, or that is around the letter. For example, here we have the correct answer is Z. So inside the square you have to put X. This is as a sample of the questions. You leave it without any answer, or it's already answered. So you move to start with your questions. For example, here they ask you to choose the word that belongs in the blank. Then we have a question or a sentence and with a missed word, and you have to fill the space with the correct word. For example, Salim forgot to a newspaper this morning because he has in a hurry. You have four choices, and this kind of questions we call it multiple choice. For example, you read this sentence and start thinking about the correct answer. You come to the first A. Buy. Salim forgot to in this morning because he was in hurry. Forget to. Buy, buys, buying, and bought. So you start with choosing the one that is most correct. Forget to. Always after to we choose the verb with infinitive without any additions. So for example, here we have the S, and it's impossible because we have infinitive to, and after infinitive to we don't add anything. Ing, we always add ing after in the progressive tenses. For example, with the progressive past progressive or present progressive. And both in the past, and it's also impossible. So the correct answer will be buy, because buy it's the infinitive of the verb, and after to we always choose the infinitive of the verb. This is as a kind of the mechanics or writing mechanics questions. Choose the word that belongs in the blank. They ask you to put the correct word in the blank, and when you have these questions, you have to read carefully. Read the sentence or the question 2 times at least, and don't be hurried to choose your answers. Try to read the sentence, and after that come back and try to put everything in its correct place. After that, we have, for example, this is the example number 2. I just will give you 2 samples. For example, choose the word that belongs in the blank. It's the same style of the questions, and you have to put the correct word in the blank. And this kind of questions related to linking words, how to connect between 2 parts of sentence. Look here, they give us the punctuation, and we have to choose the word that is suitable in the space. These are the about writing mechanics. After you finished doing your 8 questions in this part, you move to part 2, which is it's about question 6 and 7. Read the paragraph below and answer the questions. It's a kind of a short paragraph, and you have to fill it with the correct which is the best word to be put in the blank in sentence 1. They give you a short paragraph with maybe 1, 2 or 3 spaces, and you have to and every space they will ask you to put maybe word, maybe maybe punctuation, etc. After finishing these questions, you move to as we said, we have this part with short paragraphs. This is the last one, maybe it's number 8, question number 8. Now we move to the most important part, which is reading. When you move to the reading part, first, as we said, you have to read the direction and the instruction carefully. As I will show you in this, the reading test has a total of 6 questions. Look here, they tell you that you have 6 questions. You will see samples below. Read the samples carefully to be sure you understand how to answer the questions in that part of the test. Look, this is as we did before. We have for writing mechanics, we have the sample questions. Also, this is as a sample. Look here, the direction for the sample. Read the text below and answer the questions that follow. Look here, they gave us a short paragraph, and after that we have a question. What is the mainly about? What is the text mainly about? And you have to decide which is the main idea of the text and choose the correct answer. As we did before, we put X inside the square around the letter. For example, the correct answer is D, so put X inside D. After that, you move to your text. So first, you have to read your text carefully, at least twice. After reading this text, you start answering your questions. As we said, we have 6 questions. Start with number 9, as we finished with writing mechanics with number 6. So or number 8. Here we start with number 9 with reading. Look here, all the questions are related to the text, and you have to read the text carefully and answer your question according to your understanding for the text. You start with number 9, number 10, and after that, for each text you have a kind of a question that for article, and you have to write your answer down. You don't have to choose, you have to write. You have to read the text and write your answers, for example here as it's shown here. After finishing the first text, you will move to the next text. Also, you have to read it at least twice and carefully, and try to find a meaning for the new words that you will find in the text. This is a long text, and you have to read it. When you finish, you move to your question for the text. You start answering this question according to the text, and here also you have a question that you have to write down your answer, not a multiple choice question. After finishing the writing mechanics and reading, you will have the writing, and it's the paragraph. It's usually you have to write 2 paragraphs about 2 different topics. For example, here they gave us an example, but before we start, you should read the general directions for reading. They will give us your also instruction, and you will have to read them. For example, here, make sure that you use a complete sentence. complete sentence without any missed parts of the sentence. You start, for example, with subject, verb, and you finish your sentence with maybe object or complement. You start your sentence with a capital letter and finish it with a full stop. Read the directions very carefully. Read the directions very carefully. They tell you that to read the direction, what is they ask you to write in your paragraph. Don't write outside the box. You will have a box and you have to write your paragraph inside the box. Check your grammar. For example, they ask you about your last trip. You don't write it for to use future tenses. For example, you use simple past. For example, spelling and punctuation. When you ask when you finish your sentence, for example, we said that you have to put full stop like here, or even you maybe you have a question and you will find finish it with question mark. Write well organized response, and this is one of the directions also. For example, here in this is an example of paragraph. For example, write an email of 8 to 10 complete sentence. 8 to 10 complete sentence in English in paragraphs or in 2 paragraphs or more, giving advice to your friend who is facing a problem at school. Now, first it's email, and second it should has 10 sentence, for example, and in 2 paragraphs. In 2 paragraphs, you will give your advice to him in 2 paragraphs. First, and they will give you phrases may help you. For example, sorry to hear, thought about your. One thing you can do is let me know how everything. And now, as we said, the email, it has general steps you have to follow to write your email inside the box. Look, this is the box, and they ask you to put your answer inside this box. Not you don't have to write here or here, for example, only inside the box. And this is the completion of the box. And this is one example of your paragraph in this. And you surely will ask to write 2 paragraphs in the national exam. I think I have finished explaining how to write your how to deal with your exam paper. I hope you all succeed, and thank you.